Hey everybody, I'm the Amateur Logician. I sincerely hope all of you are doing well. I very much appreciate your support, your viewership, this small community we have here. Near the end of this video, I will provide a brief update about what's potentially ahead on this YouTube channel and also on the website amateurlogician.com. Now, primarily the focus will be an introduction to the Toulmin model of argumentation, and it's especially popular in writing argumentative essays. Accordingly, it's generally introduced in English composition courses. So here, we're writing an argumentative essay. It's thereby an essay with a central claim, or in other words, thesis, that's to be defended argumentatively, because reasons, proofs, or justifications are being provided for why we should think that thesis is in fact true. Now, in practice, a lot of argumentation, if it's in writing or not, is messy. It takes a dialectical evaluation to weigh in various arguments and counter-arguments in attempting to arrive at the truth of the matter. We often don't know what the truth of the matter is. We're listening to someone argue pro, another person arguing con. We weigh in the various evidence, the various arguments, and try to arrive at a conclusion. It's dialectical. At any rate, we start with a claim. That's the thesis. It's a proposition that's truth functional, meaning it's either true or false. In order to justify it as true, we need grounds, reasons, or evidence to believe that it is in fact true. These bolster the thesis. But in order to ultimately bolster that thesis, a link must be made with those grounds, reasons, or evidence to the thesis. That's technically the warrant. It will consist of a chain of reasons. This chain links things together. To give a very simple example, let's say the claim is that cell phones are bad in a class. That is, in a classroom. The grounds, the reasons, the evidence, we're thinking about studies that show less retention. It pulls attention away. But how does that show that cell phones are bad in a classroom? Well, the warrant in this case would be that learning requires focus. So because cell phones take away focus and learning requires focus, they're bad in the classroom. So warrants are arguments, and there are different types or structures of arguments. We can think of them as strategies, showing a causal connection, a link between two different things, a cause and effect relation. So causality is an important type of warrant. Another one is generalization, making a generalization by inferring a characteristic that all have of a certain type. It could include arguments by testimony or authority, and so on. So remember, the warrant really connects the grounds, reasons, or evidence to the claim. That is, why does the evidence support the thesis? But that is technically different than the backing. It explicitly explains why the warrant is reliable or valid. As the warrant links the claim to evidence, the backing provides the support for the warrant. That backing can include a general moral principle, a definition, a scientific theory, a principle of logic like a law of the syllogisms, and so forth. So in this case, the backing might be from cognitive science. Because how do we know that learning requires focus? Well, cognitive science will back that up. So the backing operates, we might say, at a deeper logical or epistemological level than the warrant. Now, as I said, finding the truth of the matter is often a dialectical process. Chances are there are people who will disagree with your claim, with your thesis. A rebuttal deals with counter-arguments. Those counter-arguments might contain counterexamples to your claim that seem to contradict your claim, your thesis. But if your thesis is right, there should be good reasons to reject that rebuttal. How? By giving counter-arguments. That is a counter-argument to the counter-argument. That should have a claim, warrant, and backing. So the rebuttal might have to do with something like, well, phones can have a good learning impact in the classroom because aren't there good learning apps on smartphones? But also couldn't it help students with certain disabilities and give them a competitive edge, if you will? And that rebuttal might lead to a qualifier, to qualify your claim. So yes, in this case, we're making the claim that cell phones are bad in the classroom, but we'll qualify this by saying, at least in general, in the majority of cases, most of the time. There might be some exceptions. There can be exceptions where maybe a learning app used on the cell phone will be productive. I've seen, for example, apps used in physics classes where it can monitor, say, if you're dropping the phone and figuring out, things like the acceleration and so forth. But regardless, a good argumentative essay indeed will typically have a nice back and forth style debate in it. And by the way, that's what makes reading a lot of good philosophy books entertaining, because you have this back and forth style debate. There will be a rebuttal, a counter to it, a rebuttal, a counter to it, etc. Responding to a counter argument, by the way, includes admitting certain concessions or entirely refuting it. That refutation might show that the counter-argument is unsound, totally fallacious, or totally irrelevant to the issues at hand. But like I said, sometimes that rebuttal will force a qualification to the claim. We have that qualifier. There's a partial truth in the counter-argument that constrains the truth, so to speak, of the thesis. It modifies the thesis to be more limited in scope. It perhaps allows for certain exceptions to the rule. In any case, someone defending a thesis should know of its weaknesses or why people might oppose it. Dealing with the opposition should help you refine your arguments. It should help clarify differences and where and why those differences of opinion happen. That additionally, by the way, just makes you generally more persuasive than otherwise. That you can present the arguments from an opposing side. Well, I am the Amateur Logician from amateurlogician.com. These days I've been uploading far fewer videos, but that doesn't mean this YouTube channel or my website is at an end. So what's next? I would like your input, your advice here. I've been debating on the next full-blown logic course, and I'm very serious about this. One is actually nearly complete, though I'm not really satisfied with it, to be honest. I'm not just a perfectionist, I just don't entirely like it. It's kind of a hybrid logic course with modern logic and some traditional that parallels a Logic 101 course you would get at a university or at a community college. Ultimately, however, I think there will be more demand for a course that just narrowly focuses in on traditional logic. For example, when I upload a video on the textbook Socratic Logic by Dr. Peter Kreeft, there's a lot of views. So my thinking is that I should create just a full-blown traditional logic course, first based on a textbook that's freely available online, that's out of copyright, and then supplemented with Dr. Kreeft's textbook and others. And this course would have exercises in it specifically for the student. It'll be more like a full-blown course, unlike the last course I created over a year ago. So that is kind of my thinking here, and I would like your input. Things have been progressing along, and I really appreciate your viewership. And one way to follow along is also to follow me on X, formerly known as Twitter. I would love to engage with other like-minded people there, people who are interested in these types of topics, if it's logic or philosophy or some math. And I've been producing content exclusively for X, for example, on the relationship between logic and science, logic and geometry, and much more. I've even gone into a little bit of non-Euclidean geometry, which is pretty cool. Now, if you have any suggestions, advice, comments, or whatnot, please feel free to contact me at amateurlogician@gmail.com. Conventional public education is a dead end, and higher education is totally bloated and ideological most of the time, especially in the so-called liberal arts. In my small way, I want to contribute to an alternative education, something that grounds itself in logic and the traditional liberal arts. Maybe you're a homeschooling parent. Maybe you just want to expand your education. Perhaps this project with the Amateur Logician, or being the Amateur Logician, can contribute. Consider reaching out and joining the community.